Good evening. Sanbonani, Molweni, Dumelang. Ikamala Mumwelela Tsele. On behalf of the Forge, I welcome you all to the screening of Amagama Nokutela and the launch of the print publication Nokutela Mdima-Dube, 1873 to 1917. Both projects of legacy creates. Thank you very much for your attendance. Siyabonga. As I greet and welcome you all, I also welcome the producers of this project, editor and creative consultant Asanda Sizani, TV and film producer Florence Masebe, and actress and poet Siphokazi Jonas. I also greet and welcome Monthati Masebe, music composer, classical pianist, vocalist, and archivist of indigenous music. On behalf of the Forge, I'm equally delighted to welcome other members of Legacy Creates, Talente Komo, Gail Hansby, and Masonwabe Ndlogo. And I would also like to greet and recognize all members of the Mdima family and Dube families present, particularly Mam Siwani. The Forge would also like to congratulate Asanda and Legacy Creates for this very important work, and we sincerely thank you, Legacy Creates, for our most fruitful collaboration. Sincere apologies to those who could not be with us physically in person. Unfortunately, our space is severely limited in the context of COVID-19 situation. The COVID-19 situation. However, I warmly greet all those who are watching online, and assure them that we greatly appreciate their presence with us in cyberspace. Before I sit down, I would like to say I'm also a zebra. Nami ngiyizebra, ama-zebra umofunda ohlanga kuthiwa uyizebra. Sasineculo nje sasilcula lapha nesithi elalithi communication is to be together, ma-zebra. So I'm also a zebra, meaning that I'm a product of the school that was co-founded by Mam Nokutela Dube, the Ohlanga Institute. Thank you. The Ohlanga Institute. And from 2006 to 2012, I was the senior reading room librarian at UKZN Campbell Collections, managing the Killy Campbell Africana Library. The Killy Campbell Africana Library holds copies of the newspaper that was co-founded by Mam Nokutela, namely Ilanga Lase Natal. At Killy, they have copies from 1903 to the late 1980s. They also have Amagama Abantu and other material connected to Mam Nokutela. Therefore, I'm particularly honored that today the Forge is collaborating with Legacy Creates to celebrate and remember Mam Nokutela. To borrow from the esteemed poet, Dr. P.W. Vilakazi, who also at one stage taught at Ohlanga, I proudly declare that Mam Nokutela was indeed the incarnation of the spirit of her age, our voice. Siyabonga kakhulu, welcome. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Oh, perfect. Good evening and welcome to the screening of Amagama Nokutela. My name is Asanda Sizani. I'm an editor, a creative consultant, and on this project, I'm the executive producer. And it's such an honor for us to present this work to you tonight. So thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedules and going through this crazy Friday traffic and coming here to this place to honor us with your presence. So siyabulela kakhulu on behalf of Legacy Creates, thank you for joining us. All right, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Siphokazi Jonas, who is a co-producer. She's a writer, she's a performer, she's a poet, And on this project, she actually is the co-star also. So she was wearing many hats in this project as both a producer and as a person in front of the screen. And all of the words that you'll hear later in the actual short film were written by her. She wrote the script that she also narrates in the short film. You'll definitely hear more from Siphokazi in a moment. All right. So I want to first kind of give a background to the story and why we are here. Many of you came today wondering, what they're going to discover tonight. What is this all about? Well, we are all here to see Nokutela Mdima, as Siphokazi writes in her poem. See her through her work, hear her through the work that you also hear. She was an essayist, she was an educator, she was the co-founder of Ilanga Lasenadal, she was the co-founder of Ohlange High School. So these still exist today, the school and the newspaper, and she's largely a woman that's been written out and erased from that, and a lot of her contributions we feel that she hasn't received sufficient acknowledgement for what she's done. So our project, we titled it Amagama Nokutela, because firstly the word Amagama has dual meaning. It means words and names. So this is our attempt to reclaim Mam Dima's words and reclaim her name. When she died in 1917 from a short illness, she had a kidney infection, she was buried in an unmarked grave. So her name was erased even in her passing. For nearly a century, she lay in an unmarked grave. And in terms of Amagama, why I care her words, this woman was an essayist. She granted many interviews which are published in several US newspapers. In 1898 already, the LA Times was writing about Nokutela. They said, her manner is grace itself. So we're speaking about a very powerful woman. She was a force. She was a pioneer in music, in education. She was a community builder. She wore many hats, and she contributed so much. And we're just so grateful that we get the opportunity, the great honor really, of playing our part in telling her story through multiple platforms and in multiple diverse ways. So Amagama Nokutela is a multi-pronged project. It's a book. We have a publication. I know some of you in the audience have purchased a copy, but we have this publication called Nokutela Mdima-Dube, 1873 to 1917, filled with research and filled also with beautiful visuals and fresh content and interviews from scholars, from artists, from creatives, from various voices. There's an artistic expression as well that you'll see in here, where we see Nokutela coming alive through visual art. And that is thanks to the collaboration we had with 14 visual artists that actually painted, drew, created portraits of her. So we see Nokutela coming alive through visual art, which was really incredible for us to see. We see her in this book also. The published work that she has is also available, is also published in this work as well. So we'd encourage you, if you don't have a copy, it is available for order, and our details are on there in terms of how to reach us to order a copy. So Amagama Nokutela is also the short film. It's a short documentary which was shot on location at Ohlange High School, the school that Nokutela built in 1900, and we also shot at Inanda Seminary, which is a school where Nokutela studied from when she was 8 years old. Her first published essay she wrote when she was studying at Inanda Seminary. She was 10 years old. She wrote an essay called Africa, My Home, and her teacher, took that essay, sent it to her mother, who was based in the US, and through that process, the work got published in missionary journals and in newspapers, and you actually get to see that essay in this publication as well, which was it gives us a great insight on who she was as early as a 10-year-old little girl. I have to quickly just acknowledge one person in the room, Uma Makulu Joyce Siwani. She is a 4th generation descendant of Nokutela Mdima-Dube. It's been such an exciting journey for us as a team, as this collective of young black women, having her as a resource, as a support system, as a collaborator, and for her to also see that there's us, we're still very passionate about it. We are there. We want to tell the story, and Umama didn't die in vain. She's still very much alive. She multiplied, and we are here, and we want to carry on her legacy through the little efforts that we have to offer. So thank you, Mama Joyce, and the entire Mdima family, for being here tonight. I think I'll hand over to Siphokazi. No? Oh, okay. All right. So, Mam Nokutela, as I mentioned, she was also a musician. So for those that might not know, there's a songbook that was published in 1911. This is a reprint of that songbook. I actually need to lock this up in a vault, honestly. The day I got this, I cried. I've been looking for this for years, literally. So the songbook is called Amagama Bantu, a Zulu songbook. And again, another reason why we titled our project Amagama Nokutela is also a subtle reference to this songbook called Amagama Bantu, a Zulu songbook. It was published in 1911. There are 31 songs in the songbook. This music was composed by Reverend John Langalbalele Dube, who was married to Mam Nokutela at the time, and the music was arranged by Mdima herself. This is her, for those that may not know, and that is her. So she arranged this incredible music. So for us, it's important to have music as a key character in our short film, simply because we are dealing with a musician here. She's been largely erased even in music. Her music needs to be a study. It needs to be studied. It needs to be performed. More people need to have access to it. They need to hear this music because we have it. It's available. So it's been quite exciting for us to get to know Nokutela through her music. When you play the music, you hear how graceful she was, how elegant she was, how eloquent she was, and how ahead of her time she was through her musicality. She was a brilliant singer. We're told that she was a soprano. And when she stood on stage to speak or to sing, she commanded a room. Nokutela was a pianist. Nokutela played auto harp. So she was an incredibly gifted musician, and it's again been a pleasure for us to collaborate with a number of local musicians in bringing some of this music to life. So far in the short film and through our events, we've collaborated with Keenan Meyer, who's here in the audience. We've collaborated with Spam Dlalose, Monthati Masebe, who you'll hear shortly. There is Yonela Mnana, and there's Msizi Nyandu as well. So all of the music, whether a cappella or accompaniment or solo piano or solo organ, everything you hear in the short film that you'll hear a bit later on is music that was arranged by this woman that we are here to honor here today. All right, and on that note, I'd like to introduce Monthati Masebe. who's going to open this evening and set the tone, I guess, for the evening with 2 songs which were arranged by Nokutela Mdima herself and published in 1911. Thanks, Monthati.
Molweni bethu. My heart is beating fast, faster than it should. Sure. Siyabonakala phofu njengoba sihlala lapha? Okay, good. There's something so spiritual in the encounter with Mam Nokutela Mdiba's music. And I think for all of us, this project in particular which is why it's important for us to frame it very carefully before you see the short documentary and the short film, is to understand that it's part of a multifaceted, multidisciplinary effort to bring her names and her words back into public discourse, back into conversation. We want to see her face on Ohlange's doors and gates. In Inanda, we want her name on the posts. When you drive into Ohlange, everything is John Dube. Hi, online people. We're being filmed. But truly, there's a way in which memory and history are very, very carefully constructed, and erasure is not accidental. I think we've encountered in the process the reality that it's intentional, and that there is an investment in which voices are written out and which ones are left in the record, not just left in the record, but venerated to an almost sort of deified degree. And I was saying when we were in Cape Town that this kind of work is an inconvenience to historical efforts or existing historical projects, and we are very happy to be an inconvenience to history. Not only because it's a record, but because the descendants of the names that we are invoking are here physically. And so we know that we have a responsibility. We owe the memory of Mam Nokutela Mdima this work. And I think the reason I'm clarifying why we're having this long conversation, because some people may be like, okay, we just came here to see a film, why are they still talking? But the reality is, what we have in mind is this deeply immersive, multidisciplinary experience of all of the things that she was. If we, as fragments of her descendants, in a way, can just, step up and reimagine, because I think what we're also very cognizant of is that we're not historians in the traditional sense, but we are using the arts, we are using music, we're using fashion and fabric, we're using words to reimagine, to reanimate. And so that does mean we are also being intentional about how we are bringing her back. We're not running away. We're like, this is happening. We're bringing her into the conversation. We're letting her speak for herself. And we are unapologetic about how this journey has affected us. And I think I often see this short film as an extension of the photo series, in a way in which we explore place, we explore fabric, we explore music, in that we are speaking to how we ourselves have seen Mam Nokutela Mdima. And we are very keen to take it further in a long-form project, or projects, ideally a stage production and a feature film. Because the story is not yet told. I was saying to Asanda the other day, it feels as if at the end she's just opened her mouth and she's ready to speak. And Tina, we are just gathering those elements to say, this is how we have encountered this journey, and we want to create the space and the platform for her. And I hope it will humble you as it has humbled us. Because the reality is, if we allow these marginalized figures to be forgotten, it won't be much of a stretch for us to be forgotten too. I want to invite, if I may, umakhulu wethu to speak as Mdomdala and to share a little bit of what this project has meant and its significance to the family, its significance to what's happening in South Africa. I think you just look at yesterday. We live with a sort of amnesia. South Africa is weird. Isn't it a weird place? Like Popeye, man, and for not moving, Popeye. Because we are forced to live with constant remembering, right? And the signs are everywhere. This city being a very clear example. But then there's also a kind of amnesia that we live with as well. And so it's in those tensions we're struggling with what it means to remember and to be remembered. So I would like for us to just stand and welcome Oma Kulu to join us and share her thoughts with us.
Sanibonani. Siyaphila sonke angithi. Yeah, this is a special evening. Ukuzo thula ukhokho wethu emphakathini. It means a lot to us. I'm sitting with my daughter and my son, who are then 5th generation Nokutela. And each time we speak about Nokutela, especially in situations like this, a part of me shakes with excitement, but some of me is in deep reverence, because she is a spirit that is alive. She has decided that this is the 1 century that she is not going to be forgotten. This is the time when she is going to be remembered. And remembered, you break re and member. And the membering is taking a whole lot of features, like, for instance, this evening, like the documentary, like the film itself, and the works that Prof. Sheriff Chita started. Because had it not been for him, as a historian that listened to a spirit speaking with him, that he went on a journey, that at a point found us, and we were just taken aback. And a part of me is deeply sad that many of my mother's generation are no more, because there are bits and pieces of gaps that we can't fill. But thank God, researchers and actors are here to do that. And by the grace of God, I'm still here and able to talk.
I just want to quickly invite one of our co-producers, whom I think has caught her breath by now. And we're so happy she's among us. Joburg, you really should take a leaf out of Cape Town's book and make things closer. I'm just saying. Just in terms of traffic. But we are so grateful for you. And Sis Flo, if you could just join us shortly before we go to the other side and start the screening of the short documentary and short film. And I hope that the people who are online are still with us in this section. Sissy, thank you so much. Just maybe sharing your encounter with this story, with this hidden figure, as you like to say, before we head over.
Thank you so much. You look beautiful, both of you. I haven't seen you in a very long time. Hi, everyone, and I'm so sorry I had to be the last one to join everybody, and I'm glad I got here just in time. Mama Joyce, you know, when we spoke many years back with Buli, and I mentioned Nokutela, and she said, do you know that's Mama's family, right? And I said, no, it can't be. Are you sure? She said, yes. So when we started speaking quite early on, I said, but I know somebody whose family, and I can find them for us. Let them somehow be a part of this journey, because I've always had an anger inside me as a storyteller. An anger about how there's a deliberate erasure of the women figures of the history of our people's struggle for liberation. We have deliberately said it's the story of the men, the heroes whose picture you then saw in 2012 when they were celebrating the formation of the African National Congress at the time. And when you looked at that story, what was really stark was there is never a mention of a mother. There is never the mention of a wife. There is never the mention of any female figure, and that the ones that choose to be more than mother and wife get erased into the dark rooms of history. So what Prof. Kita did for us is that he gave us an opportunity to have a glimpse into a figure that got stolen away from us. And once he did that, I felt we had a duty, and we still have a duty. This is just a start. We have a duty to keep the noise going on so that many other hidden Nokutelas, wherever they lay, can go whispering into the ears of poets and producers and writers and historians and researchers and says, Namdi khona ndiyaphila, I existed and I did my part, and they stole my chapters from me. I'm about giving back chapters to the women who history chose to erase. They didn't forget her. They chose to erase her, because if they had not erased her, the men were not going to shine so well. We need to remember that. You know, the men did well. I can't take back and steal their work from them. But it is unfair to not mention the glowing chapters of the women. And there are many more. We must find them and tell those stories one by one, because that is why we got gifted with the storytellers' voices.
Haike. Sulung mhlaba. Sizawutyala imbewu. We're about to cross over to next door. And just to ensure that we're able to fit the, I almost said stage hands, but the coordinators of the space are going to assist us with moving some of these chairs into the space. So we are going to ask just for a 2 to 3 minute mandatory mingle on the side while we sort out the space, and then we'll be able to screen, starting with the short documentary and then the short film. To those at home who are watching live, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to sign off now, as the screening is only going to be in person. We hope that when we have the next session, you will jump on those RSVPs. Thank you. All right, we'll be with you.